Welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host. Well, morning's in the way here. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part, so make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Let's also say thank you to my6shirt.com, the only place to get your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. Only at my6shirt.com. All right. What is good? We got Zippy in the building. We got David in the building. Welcome to the party. Indeed, a stream for the psychonauts. So if you're not familiar with what a psychonaut is, it's basically, think about what an astronaut does, but instead of going to outer space, going to inner space. So it's not going to be super heady, and we're not going to be talking about all that. But we do have a very interesting show. Michael Malice of the You're Welcome podcast brought together Jack Angeli and our good old friend Ian Crossland for an interesting conversation. And despite the fact that these guys are, known for being so out there, it is actually a surprisingly grounded conversation. And I think we could always learn a lot from looking at kind of the same things from just a little bit of a slightly different angle. Shout out to Melted Mind Media also in the building. Welcome to the party. As we said, psychonauts, I like the game. So do I. As always, guys, if you can enjoy the video, please do let me know. Look at that. There's that.
Good afternoon, Michael Malice here. Let that be your welcome for the next hour. I've been waiting months to do this episode, and now it's finally happened. I want to bring in both of our guests. It is a surprise to both of them. I have two very special, very cool people here today on Your Welcome, both returning guests. Brett, bring them in to the show. We have with us Ian Crossland. You might know him. He's one of the co-hosts on Timcast, and now he's got his own show. And Jack Angeli, who is the January 6th shaman and now candidate for political office. You guys are two. Hold on.
I am just right now realizing that this is the QAnon shaman. Okay, I didn't know that. That puts a lot of things into perspective. So obviously we know Ian Crossland. We have Michael Malice, whose podcast it is, Anarchist, and the QAnon shaman himself. Wow. Okay. All right.
The most
better than I thought.
Best psychonauts that I know. And I knew that if I had you both on at the same time, the internet would lose their mind and hopefully heal in a positive direction. I've got my Dr. Pepper ready to drink. So are you guys familiar with each other? Ian, I'm sure you know who Jake is. Jake, are you familiar with Ian?
No.
Okay, so
he's just like, nope. Yeah, that buffalo head, dude. I told you guys I was never, ever going to come and show you guys something that I'd never looked at before because of I don't even remember what it was. I blocked it out of my memory when it was like, oh man, this is not the show I thought it was going to be. But so I did skip through this one a little bit, and the whole time, the fact that he is the QAnon shaman and that it is this grounded of a conversation makes it even crazier.
No, it's even better.
There's a show called Timcast, which is a popular nightly news show. And
shout out to Timcast. Shout out to the Timcast Discourse server.
Really big audience. Ian is one of the co-hosts. And
shout out to Outcast.
The audience has a very big love-hate relationship with him because Ian is a very outside-the-box thinker. And especially the normies, they don't really know what to make of him. Is that fair to say, Ian?
Yes, that is.
I think so. Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah. So my first question I had but before we get to Ian, Jake, I want to talk to you. Tell me about this campaign you're running and how people can support you.
So yeah, not only is he the QAnon shaman, but he actually is running for Congress.
And you're wearing the perfect shirt, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I was just thinking that. Like, that's hilarious. Yeah, I am running for the 8th Congressional District here in Arizona.
So, hey, if you're in Arizona, you can have the QAnon shaman representing you. Shout out to Joe Mama. Welcome to the party. I did just see that you commented on something. I will get to that as soon as I can. Welcome to the party. Elder Mind said he is an outside of the universe thinker. Yeah, a little bit.
And I am running, it's U.S. Congress seat to be the representative of here in Arizona.
That's awesome.
And I'm running on 4 things. Number 1, single bill voting law. Number 2, an amendment for term limit.
Slow down. What is let's break down what these are. What's the single bill voting law?
That's a great job there. Because I'm sure most of us do know what a single bill voting law would be. But if you don't, this is a very interesting or a very important thing to think about.
So that means that no more omnibus bills, no more 2,000-page bills. Everything that they try to bring before the House floor must be a single bill issue.
So who was it? Marjorie Taylor Greene was talking about this a lot on Timcast, and a lot of people do, that they'll have these 2,000-page bills they call omnibus bills. It'll be on healthcare and infrastructure and sending money to Ukraine and trans stuff, and they'll put it all together, and they'll give you like 5 minutes to read it, and then you have to vote on it. And so what ends up happening is that people just vote down party lines, and all of this stuff gets passed where our representatives don't even know that they've signed something into law.
So if they want funding for Ukraine, single bill issue, they can't lump that together with a bunch of other stuff. If they want to do something like, the Green New Deal, they can't put a bunch of stuff in there.
Real quick, he was talking about his shirt, and he's got a little shroomy shirt on.
That has nothing to do with infrastructure or with, the environment or whatever to fund their special interest groups. So everything has to be a single issue bill that has to be voted on.
And I think that should be bipartisan. I don't see why anybody would be at least openly in favor of these omnibus bills, right? I mean, it should be that you don't have to, because your most important issue is, let's say, abortion, and they're going to ban abortion in this bill, but you also have to include, child sex change surgeries for 3-year-olds. It's like, what? I'm not voting on that. But if we do individual bills, then people get what they actually want.
And the advantage to that is, actually there's several, but one of the biggest advantages is that it creates transparency, and based on whether or not people choose to vote for a single the bill, we will be able to decide and see which of the corporate sponsors, which special interest groups they are funding them in their campaign. So it's almost like NASCAR drivers wearing their corporate sponsors on their suit.
We hear that joke all the time. Oh, politics would be a lot different if it was like NASCAR and they had to wear the sponsors on their suits.
You know what I'm saying? So that's a single bill voting law. And this would basically make it a law to where everything has to be a single bill issue. You can't do 2,000 pages. Now, a lot of the time when they do these 2,000-page bills, what they do is they give the congressman 24 or 48 hours to read 2,000 pages. And then they're like, now we're going to vote on it. I'm sorry, what? So a single bill voting law, it's like, okay, 24 to 48 hours to read 20 pages. That's a lot more realistic.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a lot of advantages to it.
Not only is it more realistic, but then we also, you as a politician, you don't have the excuse of, well, I didn't know. It's 20 pages. You had 2 days to read it. You had 2 days to read it. Why didn't you know? Zibby says the Uniparty needs to throw bills together so that people don't know what's going on. That's the whole game. That's the whole game. Is the misdirection. Let's do something over here so they don't see what's going on over here. Sad.
Next would be the amendment for term limits for congressmen and staff, because
staff as well. Good point.
Dude, the staff are part, if not a large part, of the problem. The congressmen are just the face for these bills that the staffers write.
That's a fantastic point. I mean, think about Biden, and we see how that he's just a puppet for whoever's pulling the strings. The people in office, they're always, I mean, obviously they're not spending all this time reading these bills. I never even really thought about that.
You know what I'm saying? And the staffers are like the handlers for the congressmen. I mean, we saw that most recently with Dick Durbin in the Senate Judiciary Committee, where his staffers are coming up and whispering stuff in his ear, and he's not allowing other people to talk about who they're going to appoint as who basically give their reasons why they don't want certain judges appointed. So the staffers control things way more than the congressmen. The staffers are the ones that write the laws. So yeah, okay, you got term limits too. You gotta get out, after a certain amount of time. And the other part of that is this.
Ooh, early comment of the night from Zippy the Strange said, yeah, the staff is the band and the elected officials are the frontmen. Dilly to that. Early comment of the night. I love it.
Wait,
can I interrupt you?
Oh, yeah.
I got to interrupt you, Jake. I haven't heard either of these ideas in the zeitgeist in recent times, and I could not be more in favor of both of them. Like these are both
great ideas,
brilliant, great ideas that would go a long way towards solving the. And I'm for abolishing Washington, but my God, if you get rid of the staffers, just like Diane, a better example, Jake, is Dianne Feinstein, when she was literally a corpse. And it was during the Kavanaugh hearings where she's like, "Oh, what's going on?" Like Trump was even making fun of her. Ian, do you like these two ideas?
Yeah, it's like they have the SpongeBob meme where it's the episode where they're selling chocolate, and then it's the old lady who wants to buy for her mom, and so it's this old shriveled worm in the wheelchair, and it's like Dianne Feinstein or any of the octogenarian politicians that are there who have no idea what's going on, and their staffers are running things. Crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%, dude. What kind of limits on the staffing? How many years?
Ooh, that's a good question. So, number one question, what should the term limit be for the congressman? And the second question is, should the staffers have a different, should it be a different time period? I would think that it would be better if there were different time periods so that it's not like every election, there's everybody going out and everybody coming in. You're either having a politician leave and the staffers from the previous politician are there to help the transition, or there's a new staff coming in with somebody who's already been there. I don't know. What do you guys think? I think he's going to say something probably around 5-ish years. That seems reasonable.
Oh, I think it should be like the president, 8 years.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah, I also think it should be a felony if they don't read the law and they vote on it. Like they have to swear under oath that they read the bill before they vote.
Well,
I love that idea too. God damn. We are rolling 20s. Zippy said term limits for all in office. 2 years max. After 5 years, you can run again. Interesting. You can run again. So I'm trying to think about what, because obviously if you did a good job, then you're more likely to get, to get reelected. So running again would be only for the people who did well. I like that a lot. The problem is though, that, when we talk about limits, then if there is that person that's good enough that in 5 years, they're still going to have the weight to be able to win an election. Do we really want them out of office? So I'd say maybe, let's call it 5 and 5. 5 and 5. Anybody got a problem with that?
They're not going to be able to enforce that, really, because who's going to be enforcing that law if they're the ones who are passing it? You know what I mean? What would be the third thing that you are, of the four, that you're advocating for?
Well, really quick, though, I want to kind of finish up on the term limits thing, because when we talk about term limits, it's also about dismantling the corrupt apparatus within the Congress. And it is through Congress that the corrupt apparatus of the bureaucracy and the judicial system and all that stuff has been allowed to get so bad. So if you corrupt a congressman and then they're able to stay in power for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, then you have a placeholder of that corruption within the Congress for decades. And the thing about corruption and the centralization of power in our system is that it's not so much about corrupting the whole system. It's about corrupting key checks and balances portions within the system. Then you circumvent those checks and balances, and centralized power becomes a reality.
Guys, can I get a big favor? Big favor. Just 2 more likes. Just 2. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So that being the case, if you create an 8-year term limit for congressmen, then that means that they don't have the ability to stay in power and corrupt the system for decades. They have to find a new person, and this new person then has to basically be corrupted, but they can only do so much damage for 8 years, and then they got to find another one. So it makes the corrupt apparatus much more difficult to maintain. So that's part of it too. The other part of it is the third aspect to this is the criminalization of lobbying. So a lot of these congressmen are corrupted due to lobbyists and due to special interest groups, non-government organizations, international corporations, the banking cartels, basically giving them money through lobbying. And then they end up doing the will of the NGOs, the international corporations, the special interest groups, and the international banking cartel. So that being said, if we criminalize,
so yeah, I agree. The problem is complacency, just going along to get along. Same with staff; they should get the same treatment. If the staff cannot do whatever, then in the deep state stops functioning efficiently. 2 years is all you need to run a couple issues, get out, and let someone else in. Again, I definitely see where you're coming from. I would have to hear something a little bit stronger about, we have these, even if they're not once in a lifetime. I think, probably, I thought, that was a misspelling. So not, if the staff cannot augur yeah, that's right. Okay. So if they can't drill into the deep state, gotcha. But yeah, these once in a lifetime or once in a generation or once in a whatever politicians that we get, even though they're not that frequent, like Trump is somebody that it would be worth questioning. Like maybe, I'm not saying we want president for life, but let's say he wins and he's doing really well, and it's like maybe we give him an extra 2 years. And it's like things like, or not give him an extra 2 years, but I mean, I'm trying to say, think about with an extra 2 years, what he could do. And so I don't know. I'm just caught up on the notion of losing good politicians too early because of term limits that are too short. I'm totally down with term limits, but yeah, the number there, definitely we got to talk about that. Shout out to Opus. Welcome to the party. Hey, we also got Daniel Cabrera. Welcome to the party. Turning 37, old man. Welcome. Happy birthday, sir. As says Opus. Oh, we also got Rhett in action in the building. What is going on? Very cool gaming YouTuber. If you're into that, I just dropped the link to his channel. Please go check that out. Welcome. Zippy said the information age makes once in a lifetime more moot, as people and info can change rapidly. True. David said an extra 2 years for Biden. Hey, I would be open to it. If he was doing a good job. But do you want an extra 2 years of Biden? I don't think so. Like I'm just saying. I'm not saying we should give extra time to politicians. I'm just saying, think about what potentially could happen if we have a good politician. Doesn't have to be Trump or anybody else. We have a good politician and they're doing great things for the country, and then we just lose them because of the term limit. Obviously, the term limit is in for the people who are ruining things. But I feel like that part is missing from the conversation because we're so used to the bad politicians. But the idea of changing, the term limits around is that we would get better politicians. And so then when we have better politicians, we might want to keep them around a little bit longer. So he says, a good politician wants to return to their day job in real life ASAP. 2 years is more than enough. It's a good point. I still think 2 years is a little too short, but you're pushing me. You're pushing me in the right direction. The more you change them out, the harder it is to corrupt the system. Yeah, that's true. That is true. That is true. You're pushing me in that direction, Zippy. Keep on going. Rhett in Action says, I don't know what is happening, but I think it may be an idiot that we are reacting to. Just a guess, though. Well, I mean, it's kind of funny that you guessed that, because this is the QAnon shaman, the guy with the horns and everything that was in the Capitol on J6. But he is here on the You're Welcome podcast with Michael Malice and our boy in Crossland. So he's talking about how he's going to run for Congress. His first thing is a single bill law, where every bill, instead of having a bunch of things with like that are disconnected, and you just say yes or no on all of these things together, like they call that the omnibus bill. No more. If you want to vote on something for Ukraine, it's Ukraine and Ukraine alone. If you want to do something with gender stuff, then it's gender and gender alone. If you want to do infrastructure alone. And then the second thing is term limits, meaning like how long can you stay in office? That's really all you missed.
Lobbying, then that is yet another obstacle to the
What happened to his background?
Centralization of power and to the circumventing of the constitutional system. Because these congressmen are not doing the will of the people, they're doing the will of their donors, who are these NGOs and special interest groups and stuff like that. So you got to cut that off.
Hold on. Sometimes these donors and special interests are a lot smarter and have their shit together a lot better than the people. How are you going to criminalize lobbying with regards to the First Amendment? Because lobbying is just, I'm officially a lobbyist, but that means I sit down with senator, congressman, whatever, and I say, hey, we would really like this bill to be passed because, you know, X, Y, and Z. Now, this could be bad stuff, of course, but it could also be like, hey, we want funding for these children's hospitals, or you know, this charity or something like that. I mean, and how do you ban it without blatantly ignoring the First Amendment?
That's a good question, and I think that even if we are in favor of these things, it's important to play devil's advocate and say that, okay, even if we don't want the lobbyists to be controlling politics just at large, we still have to give them the same rights that we want for everybody else, being First Amendment.
Well, what it is that, for example, bribery is obviously a crime. Correct?
Sure.
What they've done is they've just basically put a new label on it, and they've called it lobbying, right? So what we're basically saying is that you as a congressman are not able to accept money from any outside source regarding certain bills that are going to be passed into law, because that could be considered bribery. You see, so we have to...
How would they fund... But how would they fund their campaigns? You just want to fund them like crowdfunding?
Well, yeah, dude. I mean, think about it. Like, in my campaign, I'm not accepting any donations. I don't want people's money. I'm literally saying no to campaign donations of all kinds, especially from the people, because it's like, dude, you guys have it hard enough with inflation and stuff like that. Sure. I don't want your money. All I'm asking for is your support, your signatures, so I can get on the ballot, and your vote come election time.
Okay. I get that, but there's definitely people who have money that are going to be running against you, and that the advertising, name recognition, all that stuff really matters. It's pretty sure he just described literal bribery. I mean, is that not what lobbying is? Is that not what lobbying is? It's literal bribery. Of course it is. Zibby said, it's simple. All lobbying is done in a public format, and all donations are done only by individuals with modern data tech. You do not need to middlemen groups gather money indirectly from the campaign. I would say, if you cut lobbying for everyone, then it will no longer cost millions to run a successful campaign. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the ins and outs on how lobbying works, but basically, as far as I do understand it, it's basically legal bribery, is it not? Obi said, nope, time limit, individual person nope, limit individual personal contributions to your own campaign as well. Oh, so limit individual... You mean the amount of individuals, or the amount that an individual can contribute? So we said a third party can just give out the direct payment info. Yeah, I guess that's true. David said, no, you can't legally pay someone to vote one way or another. Oh, I understand that. But is that not what lobbying already is? Isn't that what it already is? Again, I mean, I'm genuinely asking. I don't really know a lot about lobbying. I mean, it just seems like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. But again, sounds like bribery. And again, I could be very wrong. I have no idea. Rhett said, I currently do not have the. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, hey man, all in good time, brother. All in good time. Obis said, limit the amount you can spend. You spend on your own campaign. I don't know about that. No, I don't like that. I don't like that. I think you should be able to do with your own personal money. There should be no laws as to what you can do with your own personal money. If you've earned $10 trillion, then and you win by virtue of just having your name. I don't know. It's just because the fact of the matter is think about 2020 where Bloomberg, he made it so far just by throwing so much money at the thing. If we didn't already have a system like that, then I feel like I'd be there. But given the system we have, limiting that is only going to hurt the people that are willing to put their own money up, which is going to be the people who are not beholden to the lobbyists. No? So Deming's saying, no, lobbyists get paid to have discussions to influence votes, but they can't give money or gifts directly. They can't. But do they? I mean, come on. We all know. I mean, we've all seen House of Cards. We all know how it works behind the scenes. There's laws, and then there's laws. Oba said, then only the wealthy get in office. Not everybody. Well, if that was the case, then why wouldn't we already have it that only the wealthy people get in office? We already have a system where you don't have limits on that. Am I wrong about that? Is there a limit to how much you can donate to your own political campaign? Talks about other people, but I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm not pretty sure, actually. Social limits. Okay, individual candidate. Yeah, these are for other people, though. Yeah, this is for other people. Yeah, I don't think there is I don't think there's a limit right now. And if there's not a limit right now, and we don't have people who are in office, that's only the wealthy people. Not that, I mean, they get wealthy by being in office, but I mean, that's already how it is. Shout out to Stephanie Miller. Welcome to the party. So it doesn't sound like this is what you mean, but a guy tried to sell his vote on Craigslist once, one year, and that didn't go over well. Yeah, I wouldn't try that. I wouldn't try that. But welcome to the party. We said might as well limit voting to property owners too. Then, I mean, nah. Again, in a different world, that makes sense, but nah. Because lobbying is a check to only the wealthy getting in. If you cut lobbying, then you have to limit personal contributions to yourself. Okay, I'll have to sit on that. I'll have to sit on that for a minute.
Hard enough with inflation and stuff like that.
Sure.
I don't want your money. All I'm asking for is your support, your signature, so I can get on the ballot, and your vote come election time. And the cool part about all those things, they're free. So,
well, what do you mean? AOC's in office. She was a bartender. And she got all the, she went on Twitter and got all the donations, and now she's in office, and now she's rich. But she was broke as shit.
By creating these obstacles to the slush funds that have become the DNC, the RNC, Congress, you are therefore forcing these congressmen to do the will of the people, because if they don't do the will of the people, then why would they fund their campaign?
But yeah, Ian, what are your thoughts on this?
How do you hold up against like a really wealthy candidate that funds their own campaign. I think this was like argued in the 1800s. I don't remember who it was, but it was the first guy that was like, yo, why can't I use my own money to run my whistle stop campaigns on the trains? And they're like, actually, you can.
Right.
So well, yeah, and exactly. So this is kind of tying into what Opus is saying, but this is going to be our first look into the what's his name? I don't even know. Jake, into Jake's mindset and how grounded is he? How realistic is he looking? So he's saying that he doesn't want contributions at all. Not that he is not focused on it, but he doesn't even want them. And we have a very reasonable question from Ian. Well, what about other people who do have the money and are going to use that? So if he's going to just say some wild thing, well, I'm just going to be better, or the people are going to know, or something like that, then he's a crackpot. But if he has a good answer, then you know that we might have a contender here. So Miller said that's not realistic for most people. You have to have some financial support just for basic needs. I agree with you. I definitely agree with you. This was just in the context of Opus saying that you know, we should limit, if you're running for office, then there should be a limit on how much of your own money you can put into that campaign. And I guess I'm thinking about it a little more. Like I said, I just need to sit on it. And I guess I'm thinking about it that if it's like, even if it's your personal money, there's limits to how much other people can give to your campaign fund. So I guess it would apply to you as well. See, I just need a little time. Zibby said, I'm mostly against the use of personal money for a campaign. But if you limit lobbying and donations, then personal money is less of an issue. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Steph. I'm right there with you.
That's your legal right.
The thing.
So again, the answer, the question being, how do you deal with somebody who is wealthy?
Is that, as far as I can tell, there is going to be other obstacles along the way.
Sure.
However, what I'm doing with my campaign is I'm setting a precedent. I'm raising the bar. I'm changing the game. I'm saying this is how campaigns should be run.
Okay.
If you are the best candidate, if what you're saying is the best ideas, if your plan for dismantling corruption is the most strategically sound, then you will get in. I mean, the people will want you in. They will vote you in. They may even crowdsource or whatever.
I don't know, brother. As much as, you know, AOC is in there, which Stephanie's saying is definitely the case, that, you know, money gets influence gets votes. So this idea that, well, whoever has the better ideas is going to be in office. I mean, we have Joe Biden in the White House right now. David said we probably would have had Trump versus Bloomberg 2020 without campaign contributions, which sounds pretty gross in my opinion. Not that I'm any fan of big money donors or super PACs. Yeah, I hear you. It definitely changes the game. And even though Bloomberg wasn't the candidate, he made it pretty damn far for having literally nothing to say. So let's go over to our running poll. This was just a fun one. Should we spin the UFO? 75 people said yes. And indeed, it is a shout out to Timcast IRL. Ian was always the one to spin the UFO. And I thought maybe in case you didn't get that, since we've done our own interview with Ya Boy. If you haven't seen that, definitely go check that out. We were talking about Rolling 20, so I put that one in there for you as well. All right, where were we? Open saying, I don't think he's got it. I don't think he has it. And speaking of it, I had watched the GOP debate from the other night. So either Ron DeSantis has been watching the Indian Jesus, or his talking over and past his points and not punctuating his points is such an obvious problem that somebody finally was like, yo, you got to fix that, because he did way better. But yeah, this guy, you know, that answer of well, you know, it'll just be better and better people will win. Will they though? Why isn't that the case already then?
Now, when it comes to people that are, you know, independently wealthy, for example, Donald Trump, you know, that may not necessarily be a bad thing. However, when it comes right down to it, the best ideas should win, not the person with the most money. And most of the time when it comes to, campaigns, a lot of the time they spend so much money because of, number one, getting name recognition. So they spend a lot of money trying to get their name out there.
Which works.
Number two, they spend a lot of money on things like campaign advisors and political advisors,
which are necessary.
They spend a lot of money on things like mailers. So they go to corporations that print out these mailers for them, buying television ads and stuff like that.
And I'm not going to do any of that yet. I am definitely going to win an election. I'm waiting for it. I mean, maybe he has it, but
so yeah, there is that possibility for independently wealthy people to use their own money, which I say, yeah, that's fine. Because
no, not just independently wealthy people, but people who are willing to take donations. Let's just say it's somebody that is the exact same level of wealth and influence as you, but they're taking donations like a normal campaign would. They'll be able to do all of those things that you just listed that you won't. Zippy said, when you force donations to individual only, it changes how they gather money, as all the PACs and groups have their own funding. Not all of it is from the campaign. So what does that mean? Does that mean that they can like obfuscate the actual numbers because it's different campaigns or different accounts or whatever?
The thing is that if they lose, they lost all that money. You know what I'm saying? And if they're not going to do the will of the people, well, then there you go. That's what you get for trying to swindle the people.
I think this guy's putting the cart before the horse. And he's like, well, obviously, I want what's best for the people. Therefore, I will win. How we get there, what money, whatever, all that other stuff. No, these people are lying to you. Wait, you're going to vote for somebody who lies to you? You're going to listen to media that's telling you something that's not true? That can't happen. All right.
However, in my opinion, if somebody is independently wealthy, especially if they've earned it, because there is a difference between inherited wealth and, earned wealth. People that earn their wealth have a certain level of work ethic. They have a certain knowledge of business. They have a certain knowledge of how to be successful. And unfortunately, at this point, our government is a business. So it may not necessarily be a bad thing to have people that are independently wealthy serving the will of the people. However,
that's not the question. The question is somebody who's running against you, who has more money than you.
However, and this is part of why I'm doing the things what I'm doing with my campaign, is that the best ideas should win.
Sure.
That is the gold. That is the real wealth for the people. And as long as we remove things like special interest groups from the picture, as long as we have single bill voting, as long as we criminalize lobbying, then it'll be much more difficult for corruption to take place.
Obviously, but how easy do you think it is going to be to get the people who are in charge, who don't want you to do all these things that makes it harder for them to be in charge, to change it so that they can't be in charge? The reason they have so much power is because they use that power to garner more power. I mean, I thought my ideas were pie in the sky, but this guy is just like, no, trust me, it's all good. I have good ideas, so I'm going to win. That's it. He said, rather than have corporations send money directly to a campaign, it and the groups we did that already, right? No, the groups have to do more work to get individuals to send money to the campaign. You limit corruption and the insane party steamrolling.
Even if a person is independently wealthy.
But I
get the vibe.
Hold on. I've in recent couple.
Ian hasn't said a word yet.
Completely given up on this idea that the best ideas should win, because this enlightenment idea that if you present all the facts in a straightforward manner, that people will come to good rational conclusions, to me has been completely debunked and is absurd.
What?
Okay, so Shaman is saying that I'm going to win just because I have the best ideas. Now, Michael Malice is saying the best ideas aren't the best. What? What is happening?
And a good example of this is right now, if you ask the will of the people, they will tell you that children should be vaccinated against COVID in perpetuity.
Right. That is specifically because the proper information has not gotten out. This is completely the point of why we need the information that the 3-year-olds probably do not need a COVID vaccine. That is the information that is not out. If that information was out and accepted, then they wouldn't be getting shots in perpetuity.
And let's break this down. This means that a disease that they can't get, they should get shots, which hurts. And even pretend there's no side effects. The child is getting a jab every 6 months for the rest of their life for a disease they can't even get. That's the will of the people. The will of the people in California is that if I'm a little boy and I like dolls or I like watching Drag Race, then let's get me on puberty blockers or something like that. So
he's saying that people do not always choose the best option. And I agree with you, but he's saying that the notion itself of the best Maybe we're agreeing and we're saying the same thing but in different ways. Let me let him because you're saying look at leftism and they refuse to listen to reason. I agree with all of that, but my the way I'm understanding, the way I'm hearing it is that's because the best ideas aren't out there, whereas we've seen wild censorship for the best ideas, specifically during COVID. So I don't know how you can say the best ideas aren't working while they're suppressing the best ideas.
So I'm just really, really skeptical of this kind of enlightenment idea that the will of the people is in any sense always a good conclusion and should be done. And when you have the will of the people...
Hold on, no. The will of the people, that's just mob mentality. That's not what the best idea rising to the top is. You're conflating two different ideas. The one that if you let the marketplace of ideas work on its own, then naturally the best ideas will make it to the top. The reason that the best ideas aren't at the top, that don't align with the will of the people, is because we don't have that marketplace. That is precisely the point. If we did have that marketplace, people would think differently.
Implement in law, that means some people are going to get crushed under that will. And it's often people that I like and appreciate. And a very obvious example is the will of the people is that anyone who does drugs other than marijuana should be in jail. And that's just, to me, psychotic.
Well, I agree entirely. But the thing is that...
And we know Ian does. But again, I mean, that sounds to me like if you understand the reality of what drugs do and like how these, laws against it, how they're not good for all that stuff. If you understand that, and that idea is allowed to permeate, and we don't have the propaganda machines telling people the opposite, that is not the best idea, then we have the right idea. So he says, if people do not support an idea, even a good one, it will be ignored. The marketplace of ideas is corrupt due to IP rights. How do IP rights come into this? You gotta bring that into everything, don't you?
What has happened is, number one, the people have largely been uneducated and uninformed. So if the people are educated and informed, then we will have a whole different quote unquote will of the people. Now,
I agree with that. I agree with him saying that if it were different, it would be different. Obviously, it would be different. But then it gets to, well, okay, how do you intend to make it different? So where Michael Malice is arguing the concept itself, I'm arguing the practicality of it. Excuse me. Opus said, I disagree. I think most people are ill-equipped to weigh in what will work best for a country of 350 million people. I mean, again, I agree. I'm hung up. Again, maybe it's the phrasing that Michael Malice used, but absolutely, if the best ideas are allowed to permeate, then the best ideas will win. I don't know. Again, let's listen a little more. I think we're kind of let's make sure we're on the same track, because I keep stopping it and we might think he's saying something different. So I'm gonna let it play for a little.
Benjamin Franklin said a democracy is two wolves and a lamb voting on what's for dinner, and a republic is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote.
Bingo.
So I think that we have to arm people with knowledge and education. And so this is a war for the mind. And I also believe that the Mockingbird media has created the illusion that this is the will of the people, putting children on puberty blockers.
What is the Mockingbird media? Mockingbird media. I've never heard that. Project Mockingbird? Do you guys know what he's talking about? Yeah, no. It's from the Cold War. What I don't know. What is Mockingbird Media? Not familiar. Anybody know? Let me know. Where are we at? Opus said, I think people are for more entitlements, not realizing making people beholden to the government is a slow death spiral. Exactly. They're not realizing. If they realized, then they wouldn't go down that road. If they knew the better idea, they would act better. So Zippy says IP rights equals exclusive distribution rights equals artificial scarcity equals artificial investment equals artificial markets equals monopolies control the market. That sounds like a stretch, bro. It says I've only ever heard him call it that. Maybe a Hunger Games reference. Maybe. I mean, he definitely is the QAnon shaman, so he's definitely out there. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely heard of Project Mockingbird. But I didn't. He said the Mockingbird Media.
The mind. And I also believe that the Mockingbird Media has created the illusion that this is the will of the people, putting children on puberty blockers, injecting children with mRNA gene therapy and stuff like that. They've created the illusion that that is the case. It really is not the case. If you look at California, for example, the vast majority of the counties in California are red. It's only the massive major cities that are blue. And so now you have...
Yeah, no shit. Are you under the impression that this is like something that you've uncovered? Do you think you're bringing this to... I hope he's not. Like, guys, shh. Did you know that California is only a blue state because of the cities? Bro, if this is how far you are in your political journey, you might want to do a little bit more before you try to jump in. Shout out to Soil to Soul. Welcome to the party. How are you doing? Hope everyone is well. Hope you are well too. This guy is a midwit. I think he might be. Let's see.
The vast majority of the counties in California are red. It's only the massive major cities that are blue. And so now you have these massive major corrupt cities dictating the lives of all the people in the rural areas of California that want nothing to do with this crap. So,
right. Yeah, see, Michael Malice is like, yeah. And what's your point? We all know this. This is why we do what we do.
That is another level to the corruption, is how it is on a state level and stuff like that. So what we want to do is set the precedent in the federal government of this is the way that it is. And the best idea winning isn't necessarily the will of the people. What it is that the best ideas are ones that unite people, not divide them. Are ones that give them free choice, ones that give them liberty and
empty
prosperity, not ones
empty
that
platitudes.
Dictate their lives or their moral standing in society based on talking points that are handed to us by the CIA and the Mockingbird Media. It is a complex issue somewhat.
I don't disagree with you, Zippy. I'm just saying, to say that this is all and solely because of IP rights is a little bit of a stretch.
But the issues themselves are easily diffused if you understand them on a grassroots or the root of the problem level. And the root of the problem is that the corrupt apparatus in DC is now dictating to we the people the way that we have to live our lives, because the people that are in power are using the government's monopoly on the initiation of force to push their quote unquote moral agenda.
Wow. I mean, Opus. Yeah. So this is the QAnon shaman. Obviously, we have Ian Crossland over here, but the QAnon shaman is running for Congress and apparently thinks that the notion that California is a blue state only because of the cities is news.
And it's anything but, like you were saying about puberty blockers and stuff like that. So I just think that most of the time people don't know what good ideas are because nobody's saying anything that's worth saying. You know,
projection. Nobody's saying anything worth saying, says the guy who's saying the thing not worth anything. It said maybe not all twisted minds should be in government. When you're right, you're right. When you're right, you're right. But we have Michael and Ian are both twisted minds, so let's see if they can rein him in. Rein him in. Let's see. Dilly, indeed.
You know, I once heard us saying something like, the way you move up in government is you never say no to a bad idea. You know, then that's pretty much what we're dealing with.
Good one, bro. So the soul said he looks different than another interview I saw him in. Maybe he was shaved. I don't know, but he could be thinking of someone else. Are you thinking? You might be thinking of the podium guy. There's the podium guy, and then there's a QAnon shaman with the horns and everything. Zippy said, if you do not play the game, the market's standardized, then you lose by default. Yup. Zippy still on these IP rights, the centralized investment, which is I know that you already said that. I know that the thing that you said. I'm just saying I think that's a bit of a stretch.
Ian, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, my concern with the best ideas being adopted is that it's more realistically the most popular ideas get adopted. And that if who controls the media or who has the megaphone is the one that makes the idea popular. And if the people is a corporation with proprietary code that's using algorithms to twist certain topics behind the scenes, like even AI, but that's just, or a human just being like, we're going to downrank or blacklist this word whenever it pops up in a title, that it's how do you, I mean, I'm all about building decentralized, uncensorable systems like Nostr and like using the Fediverse to get ideas out there. But
easy to do, Soil, easy to do.
But then there's Verizon that owns the ISPs. There's the power grids themselves, which can be shut off. Like, how do you ensure to propagate the best idea? And I mean, how do you even figure out what that is?
Well, I think because when the truth is spoken, it is not just heard, it is also felt. And when people feel the truth resonate in their heart,
this guy's corny.
You can't ignore it. It's undeniable. That's why, for example,
hold on. No. I got to interrupt you.
Okay.
Because of all people are proof that this is not the case. Because there is a huge percentage of this country who thinks that you personally should be in jail for the rest of your life, that you tried to have a coup, that you're some kind of evil fascist, and all this other stuff. You hear this every 5 minutes. You were put in jail for completely insane reasons. You were put in solitary for absolutely no reason. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm saying that the reaction you get from the people, the ones you talk to who get to know you are like, okay, they understand. But you're talking about, if you look at America as a whole, the number of people who think you're kind of the symbol of something demonic is through the roof.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but what we're talking about here now is psychological warfare and optics.
Yes.
Right.
So,
yes.
Precisely. Which is exactly what Ian said. They're the most popular idea. And the logic behind, the marketplace of ideas is that there's an assumption that we all want the best ideas. So that that theoretically the best idea and the most popular idea should be the same thing, given whatever topic we're talking about. Obviously, that's not how it works out. I'm very aware of that. But when we're talking about how it should be, and if it were like with the free market, I do think that a lot of people would get sick, a lot of people would die, a lot of people would be shiesty. But if we had complete laissez-faire capitalism, we would have the economy be way better than it is right now. Obviously, again, I have no way of substantiating that, but it makes sense to me.
In order for us to change things.
Really quick, not to say that I think we should have laissez-faire. Like, I do think there needs to be some level of regulation. I'm just saying, comparatively.
What we have to understand is that we have to get to the core of the issue, which is the war is over the heart and the mind. And essentially people's...
Who caught it? Oh, my God. Oh, man. I think this show is turning into make fun of the QAnon shaman. He's like, it's got to be in your heart, man.
core of the issue, which is the war is over the heart and the mind.
Stupid.
And essentially, people's
I think that counts as a projection drink. Projection. What a moron.
Syntactical cognitive grasp of reality. And the only way to do that is to put yourself out there over and over and over and over again and put your message out there. For example, every single person that I've talked to, whether it be a Republican or Democrat, Libertarian or Green Party, Independent, whatever, when I tell them what my campaign platform is and what my promises are, all of them are like, well, yeah, I can get behind that. I agree with that.
Yeah, because you're not saying anything but like, well, nice things should be nice. Things should be good. People should represent themselves. Yeah, obviously nobody's going to push back on that. The pushback comes from how are you planning to implement this? And as Ian first started with his first, the first thing he said, how are you going to compete to even get into office if you're not even taking donations?
So this is what I mean when I say the best ideas win. This is what I mean when I say that the truth, when it's not just heard, it's also felt. So the real issue is that we're in a crisis of, lack of good ideas. And it's because good ideas would disrupt the status quo.
I disagree that we are out of good ideas. I would argue that the good ideas are purposely being suppressed as to not disrupt the status quo.
And the people that have been propped up for the people to, follow are the people that reinforce the status quo. And that's because of the NGOs, the, special interest groups, et cetera, that are funding their campaigns that profit from the status quo. So I understand where you're coming from, but what
do you though? Because this seems like I'm talking to a 19-year-old who just took their first poli-sci class.
We're talking about here is the nuance and the difference between a propaganda campaign and a campaign of truth. Like Gandhi said, even if you're a minority of one, the truth is the truth. And I've
Gandhi now, all right.
Maybe Voltaire that said the truth is like a lion.
And Voltaire.
You don't need to defend it; just set it loose, and it will defend itself. So I think that the real crisis here is a crisis of consciousness, and the Mockingbird media is creating a illusory world for people to live in that divides the country based on emotional issues, things that invoke instinctual responses in the subconscious mind. So when somebody like myself, who's been maligned by the Mockingbird media, gets an opportunity to actually talk to the people, and by the way,
maybe he's just using that as a way to not say mainstream. And like Zippy was saying, it's like, what does this Mockingbird do? So he's just calling the mainstream media Mockingbird media? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know why he's not explaining. I don't know why they're not asking. Clearly, if none of us know what the hell he's talking about, then that should be like, what do you mean by Mockingbird media? But I don't know.
Everybody that I've talked to, both in prison, out of prison, on podcasts.
Everybody I talked to in prison said this was a great idea. Not quite the campaign that you want to run.
In my community, when they figure out who I am and when they actually listen to me, they're like, dude, like, I like you. And why did the media say all this stuff? Like you're nothing.
It's not, bro. He's saying that the Mockingbird media is saying stuff now. The Operation Mockingbird was from the Cold War in the 60s, the 70s. I don't think that's what he's talking about. I mean, maybe he is the QAnon shaman. Should we? So.
Like they said. So this creates that cognitive dissonance that is necessary in order to dismantle this corrupt, illusory system.
What do you think, Ian?
I get kind of nervous about that concept of the truth. They say the truth, like who defines the truth? What is the truth? Is it objective? Is it like I think of the thing often like you walk up on the beach and there's a marking in the sand. It looks like a 6, but to the guy coming towards you from the other direction, he's like, that's a 9. And you're like, well, it looks like a 6. And you're both correct. You're both telling the truth.
The person, unless the person specifically decided that they wanted to create that situation, then when they drew that thing, they had a 6 or a 9 in their mind.
But there's different perceptions of the objective reality. And whichever one is adopted by more people, we tend to think that is the truth. That's the one we're all going to agree. The Earth is like 500 years ago. The Earth is flat. The Earth is the center of the solar system 1,000 years ago. Like that is the truth.
Wait,
and it was.
Let me ask you.
So Oh no, go for it.
I want to ask Ian this thing, because here's more, and then I want Jake's thought. My concern is that I agree with what Jake is saying in the main, but my concern is there is a huge amount of people in the population, and I don't know the number, and I agree with you completely. If you are brought up in government schools and then handed over to the corporate press to get your view of politics, life, and reality, you're going to be in Wonderland. It's just going to be completely divorced from what I would regard as decency or normalcy or reality. But I'm concerned that there is a large percentage of the population, and I don't have a number, but it's a scary number, that giving them the truth and facts and information at the end of the day is like giving a guy in a wheelchair a really great pair of Nikes. Like, yeah, it's great and it's useful, but it's going to be, he's not going to have any need for them and not going to know what to do with them, even if he had them.
Well, I mean, that's a better way than I would have put it, but it's been shown, it's been scientifically studied that if you have somebody who you're arguing with and they have the incorrect position, if you show them facts and figures and statistics to the contrary of their belief, they are more likely to dig in further to that wrong belief than they are to be like, oh, okay, I guess I was wrong. I don't know, but it has I think it has a lot to do with the way that our culture has trained our minds to think that it's more important to win than to be right. And what do we always say, guys? Stop trying to win an argument and just have the conversation.
So Ian, I want to hear your thoughts on that. Do you think that there's a lot of people for whom truth is almost irrelevant?
Yeah, they call it cognitive dissonance. Like they'll hear it, but it won't affect them. Maybe they've got to hear it 80 times. I mean, Edward Bernays is obsessed with manipulation and propaganda, and you got to propagandize people with your version of the truth too.
Right.
And also like, well, yeah, I guess that's
well, but here's the thing. So what you're talking about, the 6 and the 9 thing, that's a really good analogy. How I like to look at it is, if you hang a cylinder on a string.
Oh, I thought he was going to go with the same thing I said.
The ceiling, and then you shine a flashlight from one side.
Right.
The shadow on the wall is going to be a rectangle.
Yeah.
And the other side, it's going to look like a circle. And then, so the Mockingbird media is based on this. It's a circle. No, it's a rectangle. It's a circle. No, it's a rectangle. And the fact is, it's both and it's neither. What the true dimensions, the truth is, it is a cylinder. And the truth has multiple dimensions. Now, the question is, how is it that we get people to see that it's both and neither a rectangle or a circle, that it's actually a cylinder? How do we get them to see the dimensions of the truth? And I think that the answer is yes, cognitive dissonance does play a very large role. However, cognitive dissonance is necessary when people are living a lie. The only people that get upset when you speak the truth are those that are living a lie. So what has to happen is that, first of all, and this kind of comes into this notion of like, psychedelic therapy and stuff, is that people have to recognize that their view of reality is subjective. In psychological warfare, there are 3 versions of the universe. There is the collective objective universe. That's the universe as it exists for itself beyond human perception. Then there's the personal subjective universe. That is the individual perceiving the collective objective universe, but through their subjective lens and interpreting it through syntax and cognition the way that they perceive it.
So basically the self.
And then lastly is the collective subjective universe. And that is where you have a bunch of people with a similar personal subjective universe collaborating together, concretizing their subjective view of reality, existing in an echo chamber, and reinforcing their illusory view of the world.
Like the zeitgeist.
Yes, yes. And religion, politics, schooling, education, all that stuff, it basically does that to people, is it puts them in these compartmentalized subjective universes.
It also creates social norms. What we see, like the things that you will, if you see them while you're just walking out on the street, be like, yo, what is that? Whether you have a reaction like that to a trans person is going to be directly relevant to the social norms because of the things that he's talking about. How you view the world, how the world views itself, and how we collectively view ourselves as a society.
That they control, that the powers that be control. So for example, when somebody consumes large amounts of, say, ayahuasca or psychedelic mushrooms, or even cannabis for that matter, what happens is that the syntactical portions of the brain that process reality, that cognize the world, end up becoming disrupted. And then they actually get a very real, raw, objective view of reality that goes beyond syntax, it goes beyond the use of words, and it forces the individual to examine things objectively. And they begin to realize that the world that they are perceiving is not the world as it actually is. Because if such a thing is possible by eating, 5 grams of mushrooms or...
All right, so put a 1 in the chat if you have never had a psychedelic experience. We'll count, like if you've done a lot of marijuana, we'll count it if that's, that's the most you've done. But if it's been psychedelic or not. So if you've never, trying to go word up. If you've never had a psychedelic experience, put a 1 in the chat. Because if we're all on the same page and we know what he's talking about, then we could just keep moving. But there's a lot to unpack if you don't know what we're talking about.
Eating a half a gram of hashish or something like that, then lo and behold, oh my God, what else is possible? What lies have I believed? So the media actually has a very important role to play here.
The Mockingbird media?
Can you imagine? Just think about this. Imagine the kind of world we would live in if the Mockingbird media was spamming truth instead of lies. If the social media sites were actually not censoring people and allowing truth to come through and allowing people to make up their minds for themselves. Imagine the kind of world we would live in if we were not being lied to routinely for decades. You see what I'm saying? So it is necessary.
Like, yes, bro, I do see what you're saying. There's just not much to it.
For the Mockingbird media to do what they should be doing, and that is hold government accountable, that is bring the truth to the people, etc. The question is, will that ever happen? Probably not.
Yeah. I'm very curious why they're not pushing back harder. Like, he's just saying very entry-level stuff, acting as if he's, uncovering these truths, where we have 2 great political minds here. Even if Ian is not the greatest political mind, he's definitely a in the weeds enough to be able to be like, hey, bro, and Michael Malice, I mean, come on, what are you doing? Maybe he's just, similar to when we were watching Tim and Chunk Yogurt. Maybe he's just like, letting him, hang himself with his own rope. But I don't know what's going on.
I'm thinking about disclosing truth. Like there's the truth. It doesn't mean like if you say nothing, sometimes you're still telling the truth. Like, well, Jordan Peterson actually tweeted out, if you have something to say and you don't say it, you're lying. But I think that sometimes you use discretion, that like certain things like high-tech military weaponry, you don't want to put on the internet and be like, hello, everyone, including the CCP and the Russian government. Here's how you make a neutron, implosion tactic thing that you don't want to give them your highest tech weaponry. And so you have to maybe either like ignore putting the truth. Like, I don't think it's always good to say everything that is real all the time. So like, where do you draw the line? Like, what do you decide to hide from the common man? The whole is the collective.
Well, that's a very good question. I'm a believer in the notion of certain technologies being disclosed to the public. So we were talking before about like, the infrastructure, the communication towers, the cell phone towers and all that stuff, and how it is that information is.
Make sure you're around tomorrow. I'm just saying.
Relayed, and how there are certain corporations like Verizon or whatever, they have a monopoly on these things. They can censor people, etc. So the solutions that I have are actually multi-leveled and multifaceted. Going back to my campaign platform, the final thing is...
Wait, you had a platform?
7-figure fines, expulsion, and prosecution for insider trading. And then after we've laid out all of these things, so single bill voting, term limit amendment for congressmen and staff, criminalizing lobbying, 7-figure fines, expulsion, and prosecution for insider trading, we're going to get into other things like disclosure. And then we will decide which things are necessary to give to the public so that we can create a decentralized grid. For example, Nikola Tesla He came up with an infinite, free, clean form of wireless electricity over 100 years ago that we should be and could be using right now to create a decentralized grid where our energy isn't metered. We could also use these towers to create a communication grid that is not owned and controlled by less than 1% of the population. And these things are very real. These things are very applicable to our society and will actually create massive amounts of economic growth and surplus. So that is a patent right there that I think that should be disclosed to the public, where the benefits outweigh the possible cost, or the benefits outweigh whatever possible damage could be done.
All right, guys, I'm gonna pretty much probably I'm gonna put up a poll because just hit the poll.
Now, another example would be Donald Trump just in 2020 released the 3 patents. I don't know if you're aware of this, Ian, but number 1 was a room temperature superconductor. Another one was a 0-point energy engine. And another one was a TR-3B inertia propulsion or anti-gravity craft. So the military has had these things for decades. Okay?
Well, let's hit that poll.
Okay, but they haven't disclosed them to the public because they were creating vehicles that were like another level up. So this is how the disclosure stuff has to work, is where what you do is you get to a really high level of technology, and then you begin to release the lower levels of technology because you already have superior tech that isn't necessarily going to be disclosed to the public and would not be compromised by the disclosure of this lower level technology.
Shout out to Miss Anthropic Altruist. Welcome to the party. So we just have the QAnon Shaman on the You're Welcome podcast with Michael Malice, also with Ian Crossland. And, I skipped through this, and what I saw was a very grounded conversation. And I mean, I must have only seen the clip, so it's, not the best. So I just put up do you guys want to continue with this? I mean, we're already over an hour in. So we're not going to be too long, but either way, we could stick with the interview, or we could take our chances just scrolling through Twitter and see what we find. Right now, we only have one vote of continuing or going to Twitter, but let me know. I am happy to do whatever you guys want.
Yeah, when I think about giving people unlimited electricity, like you were mentioning Tesla's free energy stuff, like if every human had unlimited electricity, would one of them just, oops, I dropped it on the ground and blow everything up? Like, I do believe there's a reason we need to keep, like, I think of humans as like wild animals that we've kind of domesticated ourselves, but we're still like, if they get hungry, they go crazy. And so like, if they all have access to infinite destructive capability, I would imagine we're doomed.
Because
so like,
all it would take is
to hide
1 out of a million, which there's certainly more than 1 out of a million people who are homicidal psychopaths. They're called politicians.
I understand what you're saying, but here's the thing. So we are living in a society that is based on a parasitic relationship with each other.
All right, so we have got our vote. It says we should try out Twitter. Sorry, QAnon Shaman, you are boring and dumb. So let's just pull up. We're just gonna pull up Twitter here, and we're gonna scroll through and see what's going on. Ian Crossland, meditation. All right. Let's slow down. So we can see a little bit more. Name one thing better than money. Peace. And the Santopic Ultra says the QAnon Shaman glows, bro. If you mean blows, then I'm right there with you. Yeah, that was weird. So name one thing better than money. Soul of the Soul says meaning. I like that. I like my peace. I like peace. That's a good one. What do we got? People are occupied. Resistance is justified. Resistance is justified. People are occupied. People are occupied. Resistance is justified. Resistance is justified. People are occupied. People are occupied. Resistance is justified. Resistance is justified. Now are occupied. When people are occupied. It's justified. Resistance is justified. It looks to me like some type, because obviously the Palestine and Israel groups on campus have been, winding up And this seems like one of those groups. Topic said at least they can rhyme, right? All right. Well, yeah. I mean, this is just basically welcome to college. Oh, wait. Sean Fitzgerald. That was AJW from the last shoot. So everyone should love and support Hunter and Holly. Oh God, what happened? Warning, graphic. I'm still trying to process this, and I'm most likely in shock as I write this. But only a few hours ago, Holly's ex-boyfriend Conrad showed up at my apartment building with a shotgun. He shot through my building door. Holy shiza!
Conrad has shot Holly in the leg.
Damn!
Excuse me? We don't know. All I know is I got a call from my landlord that said he was trying to get into the building. The suspect, sorry.
I don't know who that is, but what are you about to learn from her? A black woman is speaking. Listen and learn. Slay queen. Justified or excessive force? Let's see. Justified or excessive force? That was a little excessive. There was a, I didn't catch it the first time, but there was a punch in there. Damn! Yeah, little much. It's on topic also. It said, accepted a normie part-time job today. Shout out to that. I've been in traditional workforce for a while. The economy is killing all of us. Well, congratulations to that. Like, well, he went to bite his hand. Yeah, shit got real. All right, shout out to Jesse on fire. Broken ear and Gary's balls, a little bit of my channel, all in good fun. I wouldn't cover if I didn't think it was a huge net positive for his career. Oh wow. So he's not. If you're not a UFC fan, Ian Gary is an up and comer. Saying he's cautious about traveling to America because there's been a lot of bullshit. Apparently, his wife's ex-boyfriend lives with them, and he travels all the time. And I don't know. I thought she headbutted him. Headbutted his fist. I saw this one before. So people were saying on. I saw a different one where people were saying too much. Oh, I don't know if I can play that. But do you think she is too muscular or no? Put a 1 if you think she is too muscular. Put a 2 if you put a 2 if she's not too muscular. Put a 3 if you wouldn't hit it for a different reason. 1 is too muscular. 2 is you're all good. And 3 is a different reason. That's a man, baby. That looks like a man to me. Wait, I was trying to pause it on a spot here. It's when she's walking this way. I mean, come on. That's a man. No, probably not, but looks like it. All right, what should we got here? Shout out to David. I was just asking about Kevin McCarthy. He's like, I wonder how Kevin McCarthy will act when he leaves Congress. Caption. Oh, God. Is this that Sam guy? Jesus Christ. How do you even walk in those? Oh, Jesus.
Hit him with the book. Hit him with the book.
Allah, verga! Come on, Jeff, don't let him.
I don't want to just watch random shit.
Get him!
Where's the good video? Oh, this guy. So if you guys remember Alex O'Connor, what was the last thing we did with him? Oh, with Ben Shapiro. Was that the last show? Yeah, when he was with Ben Shapiro. This guy is Christopher Hitchens' brother. And they, Alex O'Connor and this Hitchens guy, were supposed to do a conversation about drugs and like legalization and all that stuff. And dude flipped out. They were talking for an hour about it, and he's like, "Been here for an hour, and we're only talking about drugs." And it's like, bro, that's what we're here for. Walked out, whole big thing. I don't know what this is, but I am always down to see what's good.
So much posturing. What do people actually think they're achieving? Anybody can look at it's called the energy dashboard. You can get it up on your computer anytime and see on a normal day in this country where the power which is lighting your home and your place of work and everything else you see, where it's coming from. And on a day when the wind isn't blowing, it's largely coming from gas, or it's coming from imported power, which quite often comes from the Netherlands, where they still burn coal. We don't burn coal anymore because we didn't just close down our coal-fired power stations, we blew them up. We were so certain we were right to do so. At the same time, China is, even as we speak, building the equivalent of two new coal-fired power stations a week. India has a vast expansion program of coal-fired power stations.
I don't care. All right, moving on. Wait, was this the... Oh, okay. Oh no, oh no, oh no, yo. Where is it? Oh, my daughter got this matching tattoo today with her best friend. She said something about how they're both crafty and her best friend wants to be a hairstylist. But honestly, do any of you other moms know if this is a devil symbol or anything? I just want to protect my little girl from Satan. Hashtag wow. Oh, you didn't see that, bro? That was I either the last show or the one before that. They sat down and had a conversation about religion and the atheist delusion, and I covered that. So you should definitely go check that out. I'll drop a link for you right here. Boom. That is the link to Why Can't You Be Good Without a God? A debate between Alex O'Connor and Ben Shapiro, moderated by I don't remember, Premier something or another. But oh no, this is her tattoo. Taco Bell worker defends. I don't want to watch stuff like that. Where's the new stuff? That's why we're on the For You page. Always gotta go to following. And look, the first thing we get is actual news. Really? They don't let you? Okay. You live in a bubble. You have no idea what life is like for people outside your tax bracket. Yeah, old people. Oh, Jesus.
What that got to do with my baby?
Don't you got a girlfriend? Why don't y'all go make a baby?
What that got to do with my baby? Cause I got a girlfriend. What that got to do with my baby?
I don't want her around my kid.
But if you got a boyfriend, it's cool. So
taking our chances, guys. Whoa, what? This is a thing?
Victory in the ongoing classified documents case. That's because, for a while now, Jack Smith and his team of prosecutors have been trying to keep certain files hidden from the defense. Even though these particular files are not classified themselves, Jack Smith is still trying to keep them under seal because releasing them will give Trump's legal team too much ammunition to build a...
Yo, David, do you want to come up and talk about what we were talking about before? I'll drop that link if you want to.
...solid defense. And so, he's been asking the judge to keep these files hidden. However, the judge in the case is not having it, and instead, 2 days ago, she issued an order which unsealed all these different court filings, saying that in part, given the gravity in this case, both the defense as well as the public deserve as much transparency as possible. Do you agree with this judge's order? Leave your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more.
I mean, yeah, but not real breaking news here. Compilation, I guess, uses enabling atrocities in Gaza. What's
in state while we're... Well, the Biden administration could end the occupation of Palestine tomorrow. They could have a Palestinian state while we're doing this live stream. All they have to do is say no more spare parts for your F-16s, no more F-35s, and it's over.
Well, we are enabling. They would not be able to do this without the intelligence we provide, without the ammunition that we provide, without the weapons we provide.
So what this does is it enables the Israelis to conduct their ethnic cleansing, to begin this campaign to clear Gaza, as well as all the support that goes into the bombing campaign. Certainly the bombs are coming from the U.S. The planes came from the U.S. It's all subsidized by American taxpayer money.
Israel could not do this without full support from the United States. We are the primary people to blame.
Since there is no appetite for U.S. military entering wars.
Fair enough, David. Fair enough. If anyone else wants to come up, feel free. We are going rogue here. We are going rogue. What do we got here? Just an example of what happens when you let your horny neckbeards run your company into the ground with arbitrary. I don't know what that is. Actually, yeah, this is dangerous. I don't know what we might see here. So, you know. All right. So Republicans have stopped making sense.
And my income. So we think that this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Hey, shout out to Indy Bill. Welcome to the party. We have pulled an audible. We're talking with the QAnon shaman and Ian Crossland, and it didn't really get off the ground, so we are just taking our chances, rolling through Twitter. Welcome to the party. And indeed, we are also enabling Ukraine. Welcome. What were we saying?
Income. So we think that this is just the tip of the iceberg. We think there are many more crimes. And my concern is that Weiss may have.
Yeah, it wasn't. There was nothing there. There was nothing there. I skipped through it. It seemed like they were talking about, things. I guess I'm just going to have to watch everything. I like reacting, live with you guys. And it kind of takes away, like, especially if they say something and then I make a comment and then they say the thing right after. It's like, oh yeah, I called it, and like that kind of thing. But I don't know. I guess I got to watch a little bit more because sometimes it's not enough.
Indicted Hunter Biden to protect him from having to be deposed.
Yes.
In the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday.
He indicted him to protect him. Yes. The classic rubric. He indicted him to protect him. I got it.
Well, look, this whole thing's been about a cover-up. You've got two.
That's why he indicted him to protect him, to cover it up.
Well, you indict him on the least little thing, the gun charge, and not paying taxes.
He's facing like 17 additional years in prison.
Yeah, but look what he's done. Anybody income.
The claim that you would. Let's say that you would indict him to cover it up. What is going on? This is the level of the mainstream media. Oh, I love this chick, Joe. Oh, sorry, Joe from Jersey. She always has the most snarky takes from the left. Ron just wants his pudding cup. So it's, at this point, I'm just like, fuck it, I'm taking over. All right.
And so I think what you saw in the debate performance is she is not somebody who stands up for the rights of parents and the innocence of our children. And
talking about Nikki Haley, obviously.
You saw that in very defining moments when we were talking about these surgeries on minors, these mutilations. She's in favor of that. The governor has stand strong against that, signed legislation. And so when I've gone around the state of Iowa, we see a lot of support. So we have now Mama's representation in all 99 counties in Iowa, and they are engaged to get out because they know there is only one person in this race, Republican, Democrat, Independent, who's going to stand up for the innocence of our kids, protect parents' rights, and that is Ron DeSantis. And so we see a lot of momentum.
She does it too. She does the same thing of just blazing through her points. Listen to how this line is delivered, and then listen to how it's supposed to be delivered.
Who's going to stand up for the innocence of our kids, protect parents' rights, and that is Ron DeSantis. And so we see,
as opposed to, there's only one person who's going to stand up to that, and that's Ron DeSantis. Do you see the difference? And then Will also other stuff too. You cannot keep doing that. And thankfully he didn't do that in the debate, but I mean, Jesus, bro. Lowest live viewership of the 2024 cycle. Not surprised. I didn't watch that shit. Gays Against Groomers says respecting parental autonomy when it comes to broaching. Oh, sorry, guys. When it comes to broaching subjects of gender identity and sexual orientation with their kids is non-negotiable. Posing these discussions upon children in school is not only violates the crucial boundary, but reinforces confusion among them. It is up to the parents when they want to have these conversations with their children, not the schools. Vic said, wait, Vivek is against all the trans stuff. No. She was talking about Nikki Haley. And they are now, but it was Casey DeSantis on Nikki Haley. Shout out to Gays Against Groomers. How embarrassing for Nikki Haley.
Hey guys.
Oh, look at Haley, Nikki Haley's social media pitch. Check it out.
Hey guys, since the debate, we have seen massive momentum in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. We can feel it on the ground. We're sitting at Airport Diner.
The Airport Diner is empty. Where's everybody at the diner?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Nice
if you're
smile.
talking about the national momentum you're enjoying, it's best to have people behind you at the time.
Oh, look at.
Yeah, I mean, again though, but like that's the campaign. It's just campaign talk. That's all it is. Like, we're not fact checking just random shit that she's saying. So okay, so let's see. Email strong. Apparently, 55% of Black Americans don't. What? Oh, 55% of Black Americans don't believe the Holocaust. Sorry, I keep forgetting I'm over here. Don't believe that the Holocaust is a myth. The rest are either unsure or think that it's totally fake. What do we got going on here? Okay, so agreement with Israel. So the Holocaust, says the prompt, is a myth. Agree or disagree? And then it breaks down. So if we look at total, the total is 2% by gender. Okay, so total of whites is 2%. Total of 18 to 29 is 8%. Think that is a myth. And 2% of the poors, we move over 3% of males, 2% of Black people, 2%. So how does this get? Oh, okay, I see. Oh, it's not even like that. That's wild. Where is this coming from? Obviously, the October 6th thing is really where it's started now. But like I've been talking about, this anti-Semitism has bubbled up in a way that I've never seen before, and I don't understand where it's coming from. Again, now that we, the October 7th happened, it at least makes more sense. But goddamn, all right, NJ. But it's just why? Why do people?
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
I got it. All right.
Why do people post videos of nothing? Oh, I didn't even see it.
Thank you, sir.
Check. This is his car. I didn't even see it. Bam.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
I got it. All right.
Damn. David, can you drop a link? I'll be happy to pull that up. If you drop a link in the Discord, please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Damn, that's wild, yo. Car's just gone. Just gone. What are we doing? Cooking food in an airplane bathroom. Nah, I'm good. Wait. Oh. I interviewed this person. I was like, wait a minute. David has for us here from David Packman. Has anything that Trump predicted Biden would do come true? Thank you, sir. Republicans are toast.
Important to judge elected officials by what did they accomplish as compared to the promises that they made. That's important. And one of the ways we're evaluating Joe Biden, and we have been doing, is here are the things Joe Biden said he would or wouldn't do. How do his actions relate to the promises that were made?
I would love that, Obis. I would love that. That is essentially what people, at least in this, kind of disaffected liberal, not Republican, but conservative by default, want. I know this is exactly what Dave and I were talking about before. We were trying to what is a rhino, and technically, okay, if all the Republican Party are rhinos, then it's the voters who are the rhino, all that kind of stuff. But that's really where the point is that most of the people who are, rather, the dividing line within the Republican Party is the GOP and the America First. There's definitely different iterations, but that's the breakdown. And so even if most people are Republican in name only because they don't like the Republican Party, the idea is that they want to change the Republican Party into this America First because it better represents what, at least, in their mind, and I would agree, that it is closer to the original traditional values that we had for our country. Yeah, that's what the America First caucus is trying to do. Yep.
Great. A second part of this, given that one of the people running for Joe Biden's job is Donald Trump, who was president already, and made a number of predictions about what Biden would do during one term, is to say, hey, let's look at some of the predictions Trump made and see if Biden actually did any of those things.
Fair enough.
Some of these are genuinely hilarious, but I want to just take a brief tour through the predictions that Trump made about what Biden would do. Remember stuff like this that Trump said with a straight face and the MAGA Trumpists believed?
Okay, well, I'm going to be looking for a straight face because you prefaced it with a straight face. So if he's making a joke.
No heating in the winter, no air conditioning in the summer, and no electricity, whatever the hell you wanted. Right now, you have it made. You're so lucky.
Straight face. That's just him shooting the shit, but okay.
You are so lucky I'm your president.
Well, I will tell you, I still have heating in the winter, I still have cooling in the summer, and I...
Loser!
Okay, 0 for 1, clearly a joke. Moving on.
Still have electricity whenever I want it. Another one of these completely failed predictions.
So there was no thing that happened in California where you were only allowed to turn your AC down to 78? That didn't happen? That didn't happen? Okay.
What about this one from Donald Trump about what life in the United States would be like under a President Joe Biden? Very dark.
And you'll have no school, no graduations.
So far, on point. Kids don't know shit. Any film said, do you think he'll be bringing up the border or drilling for oil or destroying the economy? Nope. But so let's be fair. But those, I mean, it is very dark. Schools are horrible. And I mean, graduations are not deserved. But let's hear it in full.
Dark.
And you'll have no school, no graduations, no weddings, no Thanksgiving, no Christmas, no 4th of July.
So when is this? Are we talking about a COVID lockdown? This is if somebody could fact check when this was. If this is in relation to the lockdowns, then again, we are simply talking about hyperbole.
No future. Other than that, he's doing a fantastic job. Biden wants to keep everyone locked up, even young Americans who are extremely low risk, like we.
So I have no idea when this was, but I automatically knew that he was referring to the lockdowns. And again, just being hyperbolic at his own rally, not writing in the legislation. This is going to be what it is. But okay, 0 for 2. Let's go.
Talked about he wants to steal the dreams and the future of our young people, you know.
Now, Joe Biden, in terms of stealing the dreams of our young people, has actually done by dollar amount more student loan forgiveness than any president in the history of the United States. But actually, Biden was instrumental in reopening schools. We had graduations. Biden spoke at some.
They won't do that. They won't do that. Of course they won't do that. And that's the obvious response to this, is that, like, okay, yes, Trump made a bunch of hyperbolic statements, as politicians do. But because it's him, it's uniquely bad. It's uniquely bad. Shout out to Jeff Peterson. Welcome. Peterson. Sorry about that, brother. Jeff Pearson. Welcome to the party, Jeff Pearson. So Thanksgiving was much more expensive this year. Christmas is tighter. We are spending twice as much for food for the month. Yep. But I mean, Trump made a joke about Biden, though, so can't vote for him.
Some of them. There are weddings. We had Thanksgiving. The turkey was dry, but we had it. No, I'm kidding. The turkey was great. As far as I know, Christmas is still going on, 4th of July.
I haven't been to Christmas in 3 years. So speak for yourself. Maybe your white privileged bullshit has something to do with it.
Promise after promise after promise that Trump made with a straight face.
Again, with the line straight face. He's literally telling a joke. If you had just not put in the with a straight face, it's decidedly not with a straight face. He is making jokes. And again, this comes back to the idea that whether you fall into the Biden or the Trump camp, simply speaking, is whether you take these things at face value or you understand the nuance of him being a human being. That's it. That's it. You're going to have no water and electricity. Well, I have water and electricity. Are water and electricity harder to come by? Are they more expensive? Oh, okay. Well, what the fuck are we really talking about?
None of which happened.
Because they will destroy this country.
That happened.
Our country will go into a depression.
That happened.
The likes of which we have not seen since 1929.
That happened.
And maybe worse.
Still going, so maybe.
So keep backing them, but you know it's wrong. And I really do believe it's only habit. That's the only reason you can be doing it. Under my continued leadership.
So I just want to point out, David, you are conspicuously quiet.
About that? What about that reality? We have some of the lowest unemployment sustained that we've had in 50 years.
Yeah, the economy is doing great, guys. The economy is doing great.
Inflation is down to 3.2%. Stock market doing well. Wages are up. GDP is up. This was the prediction Trump made. We should judge his ability to predict what's going to happen politically based on whether it actually happened.
So even if all of those things are true, if Thanksgiving was still more expensive, Thanksgiving was still more expensive. This is why not every answer to everything is in a book. Not every answer to every problem is a number. David said, I feel like it's a stretch to call them jokes. It's pretty in line with most of his claims. Exactly, David. He's a jokester. He's making jokes all of the time. All that shit that you're taking seriously is a fucking joke. Unless this whole campaign with a joke which is kind of true. Yeah, it was. It was a troll to the entire establishment. That is precisely and exactly what it was. Welcome to the conversation.
And here is another. I could do this all day. By the way, I'm not.
I mean, shit. Me too.
Not even going to do. You're going to have to flush your toilet 10 to 15 times if Biden's president, because he's going to put in all low flow. As we know, people are not having to flush toilets 10 to 15 times.
Bro.
Here's one more.
Bro. Yeah, so he made a joke, so that makes him a joke? No. Like I said, his entire campaign was to troll the establishment, which he did perfectly. I got caught up in the troll for numbers of years before I realized, oh, I'm the retarded one for taking this seriously. I'm the retarded one for taking this seriously. Oh, so they can say the economy is as strong as they want. The rich are richer and the poor are poorer. And most of the middle class moved to poverty. I mean, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? Well, GDP is up and unemployment is down. Well, that's because nobody's fucking. Let's remember that if you had a C-suite job at a company, let's not even say it was a huge company. Let's say it was a mom and pop shop that kind of big, and they're established. Maybe there's 300 people working there. Then that business gets shut down because of the lockdowns. And now you're a fucking barista. Unemployment's down. Unemployment didn't even change. But that's not really the reality of the situation, is it? Things are markedly worse, even if the number is the same. It's not that you can't take anything, he says, seriously. You can't take anything as, you have to take everything as serious or a joke. People are nuanced. Some of the things that I say are jokes. Some of the things that I say are true, are genuine. Some of the things that you say are jokes. Some of the things that you say are genuine. Some of the things that Trump says are jokes, and some of them are not. And it seems like it's almost a purposeful, purposely being obtuse of whenever he says something serious. Oh yeah, whatever. He was doing this. And then all of these things, which are clearly talking to his own people in the same way, you would, you would talk differently among your friends than you would among your coworkers. He's at his own, not all of them, but he's at his own rallies making jokes with his people that he already knows are riding for him. He's just having a good time. And you think it's, and you're taking it as like, come on, dude.
Fox now puts on more Democrats just about.
I missed the beginning.
If Biden's president, because he's going to put in all low flow. As we know, people are not having to flush toilets 10 to 15 times. Here's one more.
Fox, Fox now puts on more Democrats just about than they do Republicans. They have certainly changed a lot. Fox has changed a lot. They're probably turning off right now as I speak, but I don't care. I tell the truth. It's ridiculous. One of the biggest differences between this year and 4 years ago is Fox. Fox is like from a different planet, and too bad. And you know what's going to happen? If we don't win, they're going to go down the tubes along with every other media outlet. They'll all be bust. They'll all be gone. I can tell you.
Where's the comment on that? Where's the comment on that? Called that one straight down the middle, didn't he? Oba said it's just like Biden attacking anyone who considers themselves MAGA. That is for their base, not us. Yep.
Nobody's going to want to cover Sleepy Joe. We'll end up with one very boring socialist country that'll go to hell.
We do.
Yep.
Not have a socialist country, and it has certainly not gone to hell.
Oh, no, it hasn't gone to hell? Maybe not for you, you privileged white elite. I can play that game too.
So think not only of the things promised by Trump that he would do, which he didn't. Think not only of whether Joe Biden has accomplished the things he said he would do, but also because Trump says, pick me in 2024, consider whether any of Donald Trump's predictions about Joe Biden have come true. I can't find a single one.
So essentially all of the, between the video and me, your takeaway is, oh, you can't take anything seriously, so that makes him a joke. Okay, dude. If that's what you think is good faith conversation, okay. But that's not how, that's no. So let's just go, you know what? Let's go to my react to playlist. There's always a bunch of videos here that I'm like, you know what? I should check, I should react to that. And then I never do. Oh, nah. What about Chris Cuomo? The FBI. Let's talk about the FBI.
You will never convince me that the FBI is a lefty organization.
You don't? You really don't think that?
I've been working with them. You know, until Trump, the media was in the business of attacking the FBI with the we can neither confirm nor deny, and everything takes forever, and they never close a case, and they never tell you anything. And we would work against them. Why? Because that's the job of the media, is to test power. Now, because of Trump attacking institutions, he like put us in a position where we had to like defend these institutions, which was perverse and uncomfortable. But
did you really have to though? Or you could have just been like, I don't know, it looks kind of shady.
Clever, good move by him. As was personalizing his critic base. Very smart for him to personalize the media, because nobody in the media wants to take on a president of the United States. You know, maybe for a moment, just to get some shine and pretend that you're something. But
Jim Acosta, he made a name for it,
Jim Acosta. Well, president or not, it's definitely a different thing to specifically go to toe with Trump. President or not, he's got to give you a tongue lashing.
So started it, you know that he was a fake news.
But I mean, you know, look, you can see him, Megyn Kelly. I mean, you know, you get a moment there. Dan Rather got it way back in the day, but let me tell you, long term, bad thing, because Trump's going to have a lot more supporters than you ever will.
Yeah,
if we're in the media,
right?
Anyway, you know, you see that is a very smart thing to do. The institution itself, the FBI, you're never going to convince me. Guy for guy, they tend to break center right, but I don't care. I don't think it influences their job. What I'm saying is not brainwash, but that when you're in power, you get the pull, especially on the congressional side. We spent years of people on the right not being wrong when they said, God damn, you go after Trump for everything. Every single thing these guys can get on him, they're doing. It's like, wow. And now you do the same thing when you get in. Why? because it works. And that's the dynamic of the game.
So Chris, and let's just say, looking from the outside.
So is he just trying to say that they're not left, they're just anti whoever's in power?
You weren't even from here, and you saw just from the history of the FBI from way back when to just Russia collusion. Okay, we were all duped. Hillary went, pay for the dossier, Comey, all these people, and now with Christopher Wray, it's like they have a history of just lying. And then when you ask, like, for instance, the January 6th, I forgot which senator, congressman just questioned Christopher Wray again, and he goes, "Can you please tell us how many confidential human sources were dressed as Trump supporters that were inside the Capitol before the doors were open?
Nope.
Can you please tell us?" And he goes, "I have to be careful with what I say." The answer should have been
zero.
No, but they keep playing this game of, we can't say because there's an investigation. We can't say this. For me, Chris, I don't see how you can say that you don't see that, especially the FBI is corrupted and they're leaning a certain way. Look at what they're doing, going after all the January 6 people.
All right, well, let them answer that.
They're going after mothers.
They're going after to the degree that they go after. Okay, that's where we get into your territory, but where you can be pissed off about it or see it as overreach. You break into the U.S. Capitol. There is absolutely no proof that it was an orchestrated event by confidential
Ray Epps
informants. This happened. Do I think it was an insurrection? No.
Okay.
By definition, it was not an insurrection, and it was not an act of terror, but it was a really ugly reflection of where we are.
Any Film says they need to ask Christopher Wray if the 50 intelligence officials that said the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, if they have all lost their top secret clearances. Probably not, though, right? Probably not.
And I can get that people are going to be prosecuted for it. Should the degree of that prosecution and the punishment, you can argue that part. But your main point, Christopher Wray is a lifelong Republican, as is Bob Mueller. When Trump put Wray in, he loved his ass.
Yeah.
The idea that he then all of a sudden transformed into this Manchurian candidate who is there to undercut the right is nonsense. Now, does he give doublespeak and deal with things that he should answer straight and doesn't? And does that fuel your misgivings? Yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Do I believe January 6th was a setup? Fuck no, I don't believe it was a setup. I also don't believe it was an insurrection.
That's fine if you can, think about J6 in a way that, it's just a bunch of crazy Trump supporters following Trump's orders to go do whatever. Like, I just want to know what you think. Like, how do you circle the square of Ray Epps? Just that one person. That is the one and only thing. That anything else, I just haven't looked into, a lot of things because there's already a roadblock as to, well, something's going on here. Anything I look into is going to be bullshit because front page news day one should be Ray Epps, Ray Epps, Ray Epps, Ray Epps. Why? And even here, none of them are bringing up Ray Epps. It's the first and easiest thing to go to. If you have an explanation for that, then great. Let's continue the conversation, and maybe you convince me that J6 was the worst thing that ever happened to America. But you got to start there.
I believe it was exaggerated in terms of why it happened and what actually happened because people were scared and they could play to advantage. The same way happened with the BLM riots. Right? I'm one of the tools of this. Chris Cuomo said, where in the Constitution does it say that protests are supposed to be peaceful? Right in the first line of the First Amendment. Obviously, I know that. What was I saying? It's that when people were saying, who are all these black people and their allies shouting at the cops? Go home. I was making the point, hey, look, this is protest. Protest isn't going to be nice. People are going to be saying things that are angry and hostile. They're outraged. We need this in a democracy. It's upsetting, but we need it. I wasn't saying that you're not allowed to peacefully assemble. Maybe I'm a shitty lawyer, but I know what the First Amendment says. But why would people twist my point? That's
Ray Epps, the guy suing Fox, claiming he was just a regular Trump fan who had his life ruined by a conspiracy theory. Yes. What does that mean? Do you think that your response to what is being potentially proposed as a nationwide FBI conspiracy can't do a lawsuit? Like, why would that not be part of what we're talking about? I don't even understand the connection, as if to say, well, he's suing Fox, therefore he's not FBI. But I have no idea what that means. Why were the National Guard refused? Yeah, when they were in the city. Well, I mean, from what I have heard, and again, who knows? From what I've heard, Trump didn't want to send in the National Guard to make it look worse. But I don't know. Oh, we said Ray Epps, the guy who did worse than half the people charged for J6 who never got charged. Yup.
The game. Why would people twist what Ray says or doesn't say? That's the game. And I just...
Did he just say what Ray says or what Race says? Race says doesn't really make sense there.
But I know what the First Amendment says. But why would people twist my point? That's the game. Why would people twist what Ray says or doesn't say?
He's definitely saying Ray. Or are we talking about Christopher Ray? I think he's talking about Christopher Ray.
That's the game. And I just don't know where it gets us.
And I don't want to sit on it just really fast with January 6th. I don't want to be the dead horse, but then what do you say, Chris, when the ex-chief of police, Stephen's son, said, by the way, this guy is the most trusted guy. You can't just all of a sudden Pelosi on them, try to make him look like he was full of shit. That guy has top secret clearance.
Let's take him at his word.
He's a G, right, Chris? He said they had warnings that people were going to be violent. There was threats to life. So to not give him the resources that he wanted
was a mistake.
Hold on, a mistake. Why though? I want to go deeper to go why. Why would you turn down his call for the National Guard? Why did he have to wait? It took 71 minutes for the National Guard to show up. The New Jersey State Police showed up before the National Guard, which was 4 hours. So that, to me, with the FBI having people in there agitating like Ray Epps, because listen, Chris, say what you want.
There we go.
Inciting a riot was Ray Epps, 100%. He was telling people to go in. He started it. He was there at the breach. He got a misdemeanor, Chris. Meanwhile, the guy from the Proud Boys who was home got 20 years. That's where that's the questioning that we don't get no answer.
Wasn't the leader, Enrique, whatever his name is, wasn't he not even in Washington on J6? Like, I don't get it. But here's what we're going to do. So since we had, when I did the detransitioner thing with a PBD, I was reminded by this. Remember, that's when the video was all janky. So instead of going through that whole thing, let's just take the clips from that one and go through that. Opus is saying, net or let a good crisis go to waste. Yep. Charge him with conspiracy. Of course. So shifting back to, again, when was it? Last week, 2 weeks ago, when they did this. I'm trying to look for the thumbnail. I don't know when it was, but it was recently. We did it, but it didn't really come out well. We didn't get through the whole thing, and the video was all choppy. And I think there was a lot here. So since we're kind of just in this pocket, may as well. Thank you so much for sticking with me, guys. I know that was not the perfect setup, but we're going to get to it.
Yeah. You're Minnesota, right? Okay.
Minnesota.
So, 21 years old, born in 2002. Okay. But when you were at the age that you were, TikTok was Musical.ly. It's what you said earlier.
Yeah.
When the event took place and you're kind of going through the process where these surgeries are going to happen and you're coming home, how are your parents talking to you? Are your parents sitting there saying, babe, you sure you want to do this? Babe, are you sure you want to do this?
Again, we've switched into talking to detransitioners.
Babe, you can think about it. Why don't you wait till you're 18? You know, you don't have to hurry up. We can wait to do this. What was your parents' approach with the decision you could make?
So at the time, my parents were divorced, and it was not a pretty divorce, which was almost kind of some of the catalyst of this, because you look like when I was like 12, 13, 14.
So remember, this is a biological female who went down the road of transitioning into a man and then stopped. That's why her voice is like that.
There was a lot going on, so of course I like retreated away from myself.
When did they go to how old were you when the divorce happened?
So I believe I would have been 12.
So the divorce, when the divorce happens, that means divorce been happening for a few years. When did you kind of see like?
So that's we can see that perfectly lines up with why you would need something that you need. You know, maybe you're acting out in a certain way. Not saying that is exactly what happens, but we can put pieces together.
This is going to eventually happen. Let's just see how long they're going to take. You know what I'm asking?
I really didn't, because they tried their
hid it
best,
from you. Okay,
but
good.
it was actually right before they like officially got divorced. That's when I also got a smartphone, because of the fact that they're like, okay, well, you're gonna be switching back and forth between houses now. You're gonna like, this is might be helpful, and that's kind of the only reason I got one when I was like 12, almost 13. But so two very different perspectives from my parents. My mom did come to me with some concerns. And she was like, I'm scared you're gonna regret this. She expressed this to the therapist I was seeing at the time, and that was shut down. And she had private sessions with this therapist, and they essentially talked her out of expressing those concerns like that to me.
Makes sense. Makes sense. They tell you that there is such a huge process, but doesn't happen. Shout out to Ronald McMahon 2024 over on Twitch. How are we doing? Oh, we got Santa Claus in the building. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Welcome to the party. We are just checking out some clips from the PBD episode with the detransitioners. Welcome.
Me. Meanwhile, you had the whole trans community kind of feeding it in your ear that if your parents don't immediately go along with all of this, if they don't affirm you, essentially, they're hateful. They're hateful people. And here's, I had no reason, before to believe that they were. And I feel like even as like a 16-year-old, I tried my best to understand what they were going through. Now I will say it was from my lens of like my 16-year-old brain. So probably not the most,
just a side note about how important the family structure is.
Informed there, but my mom had concerns. If my dad had any concerns, he never brought them forward to me. My dad is very, very like, I don't know, analytical, if that's the right word, where he was very like, okay, well, here's the medical professionals are telling me this is the problem and that's the solution, so we're going with it.
And that is the boomer mentality that now I was just talking about when we were, going back and forth about the Trump, the Trump comments about understanding that, like, oh, this is the way it is. That, oh, a president said a thing. Oh, the doctor said a thing. Oh, the teacher said a thing. So that must be true. Not always the case. Ideology has infected everything. And unfortunately, I would love if we go back to the world where we can trust the science, but you can't.
Beta. In that sense, there was also the fact that he liked having a special child that he could affirm for like the virtue points.
Munchausen by proxy.
He did,
which is something I don't talk a ton about because I try to not that's my ability to keep my family out of stuff. But he
talk about
daddy. My dad is a man who very much was very progressive in the sense of like a hardcore like boomer progressivism. If anyone knows what I'm talking about.
Yep. That's exactly what I was literally going to say that. I was going to say boomer woke, but she said boomer progressivism. That like, oh, I'm supposed to do this. Remember when we talked with Peter Boghossian? Remember, if you have not seen that, definitely go check that out. When I had Peter Boghossian on, and he was talking about when he does street epistemology, and he'll say that he'll ask the question, agree or disagree, and people will go to the answer that they think they're supposed to, and not what they really do. That's the boomer progressive mind. Well, I'm supposed to do this. It's bad.
About there,
unpack that. What does that mean?
It is just essentially like, I am being told this is the nice and right thing to do, so I'm going to believe it wholeheartedly. Because I grew up being told that this is the good thing and this is what the good people do.
And you grew up in a time when the people who were telling you this is the good thing were good people legitimately telling you about a good thing. The idea of fake news and all that they can't fathom it because the world that they know is one where you can trust the news.
And so I'm not going to question it. My dad watched CNN and MSNBC. He was just so mad all the time throughout my high school years about stuff. And then he did enjoy. Right, he'll never admit to it because he's kind of a textbook case of a narcissist. And if he's watching this because he knows I'm on it, hi, don't talk to me. But
oh, wow.
I mean, I'd say the same thing. I'd say the same thing. Dad, you were the one who was supposed to prevent this. You were the one. You were the man in the situation who was supposed to prevent your little girl from having to deal with this for the rest of her life, and you failed. So, fair enough to me.
But no, so he was a case of really feeding into that affirmation cycle because of the fact that, like, he, once again, whether he'll admit to it or not, he enjoyed having, you know, the special kid that gives you political points.
That, in Opus's words, that is gross. Ronald said, "Oh my God, I found gold. You are amazing. Speaking facts. Keep up the good work, man. There aren't many conservative libertarian voices here on Twitch. Man, this is a great stream. Thank you, Ronald. Glad to see you and very, very, very much appreciate the kind words."
When you affirm them and you are very virtuous with how you present all this. Look at me. I'm such a good person. I have such a marginalized child and I am
me. It's all about me. Grown men are falling into this mentality.
I am affirming them all the way through and I'm sticking by this because this is now my struggle too. And that actually
everybody's
got to
gonna have
where
a victim mentality.
When I was about 17, but right before I stopped switching houses.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. Everybody has to have a victim mentality. Everybody has to have a thing that they are dealing with. It's not even. It's got to the point where it's not even him. My daughter is experiencing X, Y, and Z, and therefore I deserve A, B, and C. Where did this mentality come from? Feminism, obviously, but come on.
I called my mom at one point, and I was curled up on the bathroom floor of my bathroom at his house, and I was on the phone with my mom, and I was absolutely sobbing. And I asked her, why doesn't he love me for anything else besides being trans?
Holy shit. Why doesn't he love me for anything else besides being trans? That's heartbreaking. And we're talking about a 15, 16-year-old, a little 15-year-old, 16-year-old girl thinking the only reason my daddy loves me is because I'm trans. Opus said, I had a friend who tried to get their son to be gay or trans. She also tried to get him diagnosed with a learning disability. It's getting worse. It's getting worse. Getting worse and worse and worse. And it's this kind of stuff that when there is a conversation about Trump versus Biden, Democrat versus Republican, conservative versus liberal, that this stuff is so extreme that it almost makes the bullshit that we see from the Uniparty, including Republicans and conservative voters as well, it almost makes it irrelevant because this is so alarming. It's so alarming that it needs to be dealt with. And the people who are saying, don't deal with this, they cannot be trusted with anything, in my mind.
And that is where you see these parents, and it hits a special chord with me when you see these activist parents that have, especially the young children, that are affirming this because
they have no idea. At least she was leading the charge. At least they didn't, like what Opus is saying. At least they didn't shove it down her throat. They were at least following her lead. At least, not that they should have, but at least they weren't, running the parade.
When these kids grow up and they get to that place where I was curled up on that bathroom floor,
something trans parents never think of.
Talking to my mom, when they get to a place like that and they realize that their parents have essentially put all the eggs in the basket of, this is what makes you amazing. This is what makes you special. This is great. I'm affirming you. That's going to break those kids.
That is going to break those kids. That is why it is not okay to have a notion of gender affirmation. The notion that you're going to come to me to be affirmed, not to test whether or not this is appropriate for me. That is the problem.
It's going to break them, especially if this started at like 6, 7, 8, 9, any of those younger ages. Because I was a teenager. But imagine going your whole life with your parent telling you this and then coming to the realization that like they didn't seem to care about you for anything else besides that.
And I mean, excuse me, I mean, it's cliche, but look at Jazz Jennings. We talk about Jazz Jennings often because it's so easy to use that because it's been documented on national television for the last decade. Opposite making sexuality and race the defining characteristics of young people's self-being is the most damaging thing anyone in the whole country is doing. Hell yeah. I think we got to make that the new comment of the night. That is the problem. We can't, it's so dire. The situation is so dire. And I know that, I'm not saying anything new to you guys. But we often talk about how important it is to retread over this stuff because there's so much going on that we have to make sure everything is getting its due. And we can't cover everything, but we can at least do our best to pick our top 8, if you know what I mean.
Luca, let me ask you. Parents politically, are they both Democrats?
Yes.
Minnesota.
Well, so my parents are originally from Nebraska. I live in Minnesota now.
Got it.
Minnesota.
You want to talk about California? Minnesota is just the California of the Midwest. But both my parents were, I believe, my dad's a Democrat. I think my mom is registered as an independent, but has voted Democrat.
Got it. So
that the notion of someone a registered independent voting Democrat. I don't know how many of those there are anymore.
This is why, Aaron, I know you don't necessarily agree with what I was saying on this side. I think there are certain people that choose their politics and whatever their political party affiliation, the loyalty to their political party and philosophy is above any of it. Every parent is proud to brag about their kids. Not every parent. I would say most parents want to brag and say, that's my kid, because it's like a way you're bragging about yourself. Mm-hmm. It's your genetics. It's my blood. It's a different way you brag about your kids. But when you brag about it to show off to your party, to say, I'm more liberal than you are. Look at me. Look how loyal I am to my political party.
And I mean, I live in Jersey. It's a coastal state, but I live more in the suburbs. I don't really go out. I don't have kids, so I'm not really in those circles. But I can't imagine the out-liberaling that happens at the behest, at the damage to the children that goes on in some of these blue areas. It's legitimately terrifying. Hey, shout out to Rabbi Glickman. Welcome to the party. So I lost a lot of respect for PBD when he cut out the part of Benjamin Netanyahu, the Benjamin Netanyahu clip, where Netanyahu starts talking about destroying the U.S. by exporting all of their manufacturing. Is that did we cover that? Because I remember we did have a clip where Netanyahu was saying like, "Oh well, we got America, so let's just whatever." You know what I'm talking about? Is that the same clip? What was his reasoning? Did he give a reason as to why he cut out the clip? I don't know. Let me know. Welcome. It is from that same clip. Oh, so he played that part, but he cut out destroying the U.S. by exporting all their manufacturing. Sus.
And I get these additional points that you don't get. Being the fifth person that chose to sue the institution that helped, got you to transition. But
here's the thing, though. Do we know that it was for like censorship reasons, or was it just like this is the part that we are focusing on? Because like just saying that you're clipping it out doesn't necessarily mean that it was purposely, trying to obfuscate what was happening. But I don't know. I'm asking.
Are you all finding each other? And
Good
are you
question.
communicating others that are in a situation like you?
Good question. So just circling back, talking about the detransitioners, as we know that over the next 5 to 7 years, as this whole thing has exploded, then we know the 7 to 10 year mark is where a lot of the detransitioners are going to realize, oh shit, I don't like this. Then I think having support groups for people going through this stuff is going to be increasingly more important. And so I would hope that they have, like a Facebook group at least, but I would hope that they're meeting up, talking about this stuff. And it's got to be very personal. It's got to be very, like, you're talking about your genitals that are all mangled. So I would hope that you have a good support system with that.
That went through what you went through. And if you were to put 50 stories on the board, are all 50 have the same 6 components, 5 components, 3 trends? Or are there different reasons why kids go through transitioning?
Good question. Yeah, damn.
I guess add a mini asterisk to the parent thing it tends to be a certain personality type that this kind of ideology appeals to, feeding into their ego. So it's not necessarily even politics. It is like if you have a narcissistic tendency, you're going to do anything to feed your ego, and unfortunately this topic feeds their ego.
But then where are the super conservative parents who are either doing this to feed conservative super narcissistic parents who are either doing this or doing something analogous? Because if we don't have that, then it absolutely specifically is the political ideology. I mean, I would say religion, but even so, religion is far less dangerous than gender ideology. Rabbi says, I've said it before and I'll say it again. First and foremost, I blame the parents.
Bingo.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be in a. Especially as somebody who's not a parent. Rabbi, are you a parent? I'm not a parent. So there's a certain distance I have to keep myself from making certain claims of parents or certain criticisms of parents because I'm not a parent. And I do believe that having children is one of those situations where you simply cannot understand until you experience it. That being said, shout out to Rabbi Glickman getting it in. God damn. I will say that it is your responsibility. It is no one else's responsibility to make sure that your family, including the children, but your family is doing the right thing, is doing what is best for them, is doing what is best for your unit, so that you can be in a position to be doing what's best for our country, so that you can be in a position to do what's best for the world, and blah, 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 all the way down the line. If you can't even, like, it is such a fundamental failure, of the job. I mean, y'all remember the Chris Rock bit where he's like, you got one job as a father, keep your daughter off the pole. In these days, it's more about keep your son off the pole. I mean, it's scary. So the left says Christian nationalism is the greatest threat to the country. So yes, religion would be analogous to them. Well, I would disagree because Christian nationalism. Well, first of all, they say it's white supremacy, not Christian nationalism. But even so, Christian nationalism is definitely a threat, just not as dire as gender ideology. Yeah, so I would replace Christian nationalism with white supremacy, but 6 of one half dozen the other, right? So it's almost dark here, so I gotta go. Take it easy, brother. You have a good one. Take care of all those 7 children.
But I've met a lot of the other detransitioners. I've met most of the other ones that are filing lawsuits, and it's really is amazing because I know like the concept of diversity gets harped on a lot now because of how it's implemented, but detransitioners are truly one of the most like diverse groups of people I have ever been around. We're from different backgrounds, different races, different religions, different political beliefs, but all through all of our stories, there is a thread of these certain things that happen, and it's just woven in there, and that's kind of what is pulling us all together.
So they're switching it up again. They're switching it up again. So now we're moving from white supremacy to Christian nationalism. I mean, that's definitely a better political tactic. You can't argue that. You can't argue that. That Christian nationalism is certainly more of an issue than white supremacy. Is it an issue? I would say not really, but I would not say no. But white supremacy is not an issue. So, I mean, it makes sense.
There's a thread of, events such as, family life problems, sexual trauma, internalized or external homophobia, all of these things, just general being uncomfortable in puberty, social media, and being like influenced by this stuff to feel accepted. But all throughout all of it, there's a young person in each of these stories that just wanted acceptance and just wanted to feel loved and wanted. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, that came from a very predatory place in our lives.
When you hear that, what do you think about it, Aaron?
That is really truthful. So I run a parent group, and all I need is the parent to give me the age and the sex of the child, and I can guess the story. And the story, I'm usually spot on.
Makes sense. That depending on the age of the kid, all the other factors are probably going to be exactly the same. If you have a 3-year-old, it's definitely the parents who are pushing this. If you have a 9-year-old, then you have parents who are very, very, very liberal. And the first sign of, you say that you want to do something, let's fly with it. When you see the ones that are a 15, 16-year-old, then they're letting the child, take the lead, but certainly are following up. I don't even work in this industry, and I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure she would say that I'm spot on.
So when a parent comes in and they have a female teenager, I can say, not in the cool crowd, into anime, watch too much porn, hides in the room with social media. Like they're patterns, and they're so obvious to us. If it's a boy, I've got a different pattern. These boys are highly intelligent, usually Asperger's on the spectrum somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget about that aspect. I don't want to say overwhelmed, but a significant number of the LGBT community is people on the ASD spectrum. Just saying.
They're usually uncomfortable around girls, never had a girlfriend. So there's these really stunning patterns that we see day in and day out that the doctors seem to just ignore. So we see them. And Luca's right. It preys on the vulnerable kids. These are not the kids that are great at sports or in the popular group. These are the kids that are fringe and outliers and are looking for a tribe or are looking for love from both their friends and sometimes from their parents. And then they can opt into this stardom. I mean, when you are a quote unquote trans kid, you are celebrated. You become the it person, even though the kids still shy away from you. So you'll see a boy who will become prom queen or homecoming queen. He's not invited to the after party.
But you guys are definitely invited to the after party that is raging 24/7 in the Indian Jesus Discord server where the party never ends. That's right, 24/7 we're in there hanging out. It is free to join, absolutely free. You get that free chat channel for free. But if you join as a channel member, you get access to the full thing, including the voice chat video channels where you're not stuck behind your keyboard. You're actually on screen with me and everybody else. It's a good old time. Come and join us.
But all the kids are celebrating this boy in a dress, but it's all a false celebration.
It's interesting you say that because we're starting to see people waking up to this. Bill Maher woke up and Bill said, that he was alarmed, and he did a little monologue on it, that he said Angelinos, which is people from Los Angeles. He says, I'm starting to see Angelinos at cocktail parties speaking with pride about having a kid that's transitioning, and they're like, oh, what drama.
So this is what I mean when I talk about the TDSing of Bill Maher. We have to remember, Bill Maher is still a progressive left liberal guy. But he had TDS for a long time. And now I still think that, you know, he has crazy ideas about Trump, but it's more within the I want to say reasonable. I don't have a better word. It's not reasonable, but it's closer to reasonable. And so he can point out things like the child transitionings and the drag queen stuff, and he openly will say, like, what the fuck are we doing?
As if, you know, they're just talking casually about some topic, and him being very alarmed by that. You just talked about patterns you can see in kids. What patterns do you see in parents?
Well, like Lucas said, narcissistic parents who want to, I mean, there is a political component of it. You know, Democrats, liberals, how liberal can you be? You're so liberal that you're accepting that your child is actually the opposite sex. I mean, that's it's a badge of honor.
Badge of honor. Badge of honor. And I mean, you know, they go on and we all know this, but I just think it's important to touch on these things. And let's remember that this is happening. Let's remember that while we're talking about, oh, hey, QAnon shaman, blah, 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 there's other really important stuff going on too. Obus was saying before, hey, you know, like there's World War III. It's about to go down. But that's exactly why we have to remember what it is that we care about. And just because, you know, the news flashes something, ooh, look over there. And we don't know what's going on over here. It's important to pay attention. Remember where your values lie and what issues are really important to me, important to us, you know, important to you. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I know that the original interview wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. They can't all be winners, but I hope you had a good time anyway. And I promise I will make sure that the next stream is better. And it might be tomorrow. So just keep your notifications for Discord on and definitely hit that bell so that you don't miss it. Thank you once again, guys. I very, very, very much appreciate you guys hanging out. Once again, I have been your host, Lech, a.k.a. the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, I am out of here. Peace.